Hi, this is Dr. Matt Shelton from nzdsos.com, and we're here at Parliament today to support Barry Young, the world's currently best-known whistleblower. And I've got with me a friend from cyberspace who I've now met in the flesh, and what a pleasure it's been. This is Dr. Paul Oosterhuis, who I guess is more or less sort of our equivalent in Australia, very early to come out and speak publicly about his concerns and fears for people with their vaccination rollout. And he's just rolled in on a bloody great boat, I understand today, with amazing, auspicious timing. And in fact, this isn't your first rodeo with Barry and his data.
That's right.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you've been up to in the last few weeks and what you make of it all?
Well, I've never been to New Zealand before, but then about a month ago, I had Liz Gunn on our show at Cafe Lockdown. And as we were chatting, well, you were on it yourself, and she mentioned the whistleblower, and we were both gobsmacked that there was this level of data out there. And she called me a few weeks back and said, we'd like you to come and have a look at the data and be involved with revealing it to the world. So to me, that was too good an offer to refuse.
I have to say, though, you were in and out so quickly and clandestinely that you didn't have time for a coffee with me.
I know. It was. Do you know, there's still so much fear. But there were people telling me don't get on the boat to New Zealand because they didn't know how crazy But you know, this was the whole thing through COVID. I crossed the border into Victoria when they had all the lockdowns and thinking I walked around the airport without a mask. I was the only adult standing up without a mask, and I thought I was going to be crash tackled. You know, we had so much fear. Even now, you know, so much of the fear is in our heads. You know,
and it does rub on, even on the likes of us who are supposedly critical thinkers. You know, we're only humans. We're only humans, and it does affect us.
We'll see if they let me back on the boat, though.
I really hope they do.
But yeah, it's been quite a ride, and I think this data has the potential to change the world. This could be used. To me, it's no longer inquiry time, it's criminal time. It's time to call out, just like what's happening in Italy. I think it's time that we reveal that there are crimes against humanity. Look, it was pretty obvious that informed consent, which is a requirement in law, had been taken. Most people don't know me because I'm one of the most censored doctors on the internet, you know. But despite that, a bit got out. Enough got out, and millions are waking up that the crimes against humanity have taken place, and it's now time to be talking about bringing an end to this criminality.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And of course, big claims like that require big evidence. But we've got the big evidence, haven't we? And I mean, Barry's data just merely adds actually to already an inferno of information that's very damning. And of course, this isn't just numbers. This is real people who are losing their lives, losing their healthy futures.
Yes, and deaths and all-cause mortality. I had a tagline on Twitter. I'm at Dragonfishy on Twitter. That for over 2 years I've been saying all-cause mortality, the signal that just won't go away. You know, because I know it's harder to hide the bodies.
Yes, you can deny people's injuries, but you know, being alive or dead is a fairly binary thing, isn't it? And you know, people tend to die at the same rates from the same things consistently year over year in stable countries, and that's certainly not true now. Can I just say that having had a brief look at the data myself, you know, there's been a lot of noise around 20-30% mortality achieved by some mobile clinics, maybe going into rest homes and things.
Yes.
But we had a quick look at the 30 to 40-year-old data, and they came in with an annualized mortality rate of about 0.6%. Of them were dead within a year of their last injection. And you'd think, oh well, 0.6, that doesn't sound much. But when you go and look at what it should be, and a quick look on Our World in Data or something like that, it should be knocking around 0.06%.
That's right.
So we're talking, you know, hidden in this data in plain sight, you know, a massive signal that perhaps to people in government or you know, bureaucrats who don't know what the normal is, you know, wouldn't raise an eyebrow. But you know, these are astonishing numbers, aren't they?
That's right. I mean, in my 32 odd years of practice, you didn't see young people dying in their sleep, for no reason. You didn't see young sports people and triathletes dropping dead, beside their partners.
Yep.
Yes, the numbers are smaller in absolute terms, but as you point out, in relative terms, it's massive.
Yes.
It's massive. It's a carnage.
Yep. It is, and it was always avoidable, and it should be stopped immediately.
Yes.
Irrespective of what might still be to come. And we've said our initial concerns and fears of what might happen have gradually been realised, and some of them it's actually been worse than we hoped.
Yes.
And we're only really in the medium term for the first injected people.
Well, all-cause mortality is an important thing. We mentioned it in the Lighthouse Declaration in January. In the interviews there, I also worried about the fall in fertility, which is a civilization-shaking event, the massive fall. The cancer, the cancer blooms, the turbo cancers.
Yes.
You talked about, a couple of the speakers mentioned actual examples of people in there. Well, the mother of my children got lymphoma this year, has gone through chemo and radiation. This is not a remote... My mother was in a nursing home. She was effectively killed behind closed doors in April of 2020. This is personal. It's personal for all of us.
Yes, it is.
But it gives it more fire to wanting this criminality to end. Because if we don't acknowledge what has happened in the last 4 years and end it, it's going to recur and it's going to be worse.
Yes. Well, I think it'll just keep happening, and it may well sort of morph into the next, similar scenario. But your example of people dear to you, and I'm so sorry to hear these things, is common to all of us. We all know people to whom these things have happened, and I would, urge people who still don't think that anything unusual is happening to actually ask themselves, in all honesty, do you remember until the last few years when the number of loved ones, friends, work colleagues that are being struck down with, hopefully not sudden deaths, but we know it's happening. Rapid cancers, as you say, strokes, heart attacks, blood clots, autoimmune disease.
All of it was predictable.
Symptoms.
All of it was predictable when you looked at the technology. It was one of the things I warned about. I also warned about antibody-dependent enhancement. 3 of the posts that the Medical Council used as evidence of my heresy was about antibody-dependent enhancement. Now we've got things like the Cleveland Clinic study and Blind Freddy, who can see that the more shots you have, the greater your risk. So not only didn't it protect grandma and grandpa, it's killing grandma and grandpa in large numbers. That's what the data set shows. And not only is it not protecting, it's actually making people more vulnerable. These were things that I warned about in 2021, and they used as evidence that I was needed immediate action powers for public protection against me. It's just the truth. Barry's just showing the truth. It's just the data. And they have an obligation to be transparent back. If they want to claim that what Barry is saying is misinformation, show your cards. Show the de-identified data like he has, and prove it.
It's our data. I mean, we pay for it apart from anything else, and it's about us. Yeah, show us the colour of your money. If you're so sure, prove it.
If they're claiming it's, they're guilty of crimes now. To withhold this data from the public is the only way that they will be able to reassure. They've had such a breach of trust. My trust in the profession's totally gone. I don't know that they can rebuild the trust, but if they want to make even the first start to it, they have to be transparent.
Yes, they do. And, I'm just very grateful to you, and people, especially in Australia now, we're really proud to have made such a good and effective connection and combination.
It took so long for us to connect. I knew there were a hotbed of activist in New Zealand, but it's taken this long. But I'm glad that I'm finally here. And,
yeah, well, I think we've all had our work cut out, fighting for our own, professional survival and for our own friends and families. And we're all up against the same thing, but the laws and the legislations and the personalities are very different in the two countries, but the principles are the same. And we're all up against essentially human psychology writ large, and the preference of people just to stay with what they know, stay in some sort of comfort zone, even if it's rapidly declining around them and turning from a comfort zone possibly into a prison without them realizing it.
Do you know what's so obvious to me? Forget all the numbers, it's the breach of ethics. Informed consent is really simple. You can't have coercion, you can't have inducements, you can't threaten and have informed consent. We were always taught that was assault. That was assault. This is why I say crimes against humanity has taken place. If they censor concerns, see, as an anesthesiologist, my life revolved around managing risk. It was all about limiting risk. We had a culture of safety. A culture of safety meant if you see something that's a potential hazard, you call it out. Now we're living in a world where you get attacked for calling out safety concerns and dangers. We have to come back to a culture of safety. We have to come back to a culture of transparency. We have to acknowledge that we've had propaganda and censorship and end it. Otherwise, we're in all great danger.
Yeah, and you and I know will continue being disobedient, because this is what it all boils down to. The only thing they can possibly accuse us of, and they're becoming more and more obvious in their language, is that we are being disobedient and we are being disrespectful to our colleagues. Yes. Well, screw the lot of them. Our first and only obligation is to our patients.
Yes.
And if we're not allowed to do that, and if we have the government and the regulators in the consultation room glaring at both of us and our patients, and threatening us, then we need to start again. But I'd just like to thank you for your commitment and your time today, and it's really great to meet you in the flesh.
Same here.
You're welcome. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.